In Brazilian culture, is like very common to hook up with people with no commitment at all. You just met someone at a bar, in a party, you just kiss, and that's it. You don't even need to know the person's name. But in the Korean culture, it's like you're dating this person just to have fun, or you're dating this person to get married.
For Koreans, if we want to know something, we just ask the question directly. But I think here in Brazil, people are more cautious than Koreans.
Everything is done so fast in Korea that he was not used to at all. He kept complaining, everything's so slow, so slow. Traffic is slow, lines are slow, delivery is slow, everything.
Hello, and welcome to the Dating Beyond Borders podcast. Today, we've got a very special episode planned. Cross-cultural relationships are something I talk about a lot, but today you're not just hearing it from me. We've got Anna, who's Brazilian, and Juan, who's Korean, two people from cultures worlds apart, yet somehow drawn together. In this episode, we're not just exploring the differences that challenge and shape their relationship, we're digging deeper. Why do so many of us feel pulled toward people from different cultures? Can a connection bridge two entirely different ways of seeing the world? And what happens when you feel like you don't fully belong in your own culture? Does that search for belonging drive us to seek love elsewhere? So, without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
So, I would like to start with the story of how you two met. Please tell me about it.
Okay, so we met on the internet. None of us were actually searching for a relationship. We just wanted someone to talk to. I wanted someone to practice English, so I was searching for foreigners of any country. And he just wanted someone to spend some time before he joined army
Yes.
because it's mandatory in Korea. Every man has to go for when he did it almost 2 years, so he served for 20 months.
Mhm.
And he was a bit lonely at that time because he did college in US. He didn't have much friends here in Korea when he came back. And I just recently graduate college and I was searching for a job and I wanted to practice English. So we found each other because we wanted to talk to other people, not specifically a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, like after I came back from US, my parent, I originally lived in Seoul, but after I came back, my parents moved to different city, and I didn't know anyone over there, so I just want to spend some time before I join the army. So that's how we met each other.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't a dating site.
It wasn't a dating website.
Interesting. So, how did this contact transition into a relationship?
It was kind of like a gray area. We start talking to each other with no intentions to be in a relationship, but it became fun. And we started talking to each other we wanted to talk every day for longer and longer. And at some point, I think he did it first. He realized he was in love. So he just say I love you. And so after 6 months of conversation, I think on this first 6 months that we didn't say anything to each other,
Mhm.
it was like for 3 months we were actually just friends, and the other three we were like kind of understanding what was going on. And after 6 months of having a conversation almost every day, he said I love you, and then I said it back. And but we didn't want to date. We had a conversation and we say like, oh, okay, I love you, but we are very far, so let's not get into a long distance relationship. He said like, when I leave army, then we can have a relationship. But at the end of the story, we didn't wait at all. We said, okay, let's wait, and then we were acting like boyfriend and girlfriend anyway.
Yes.
So a few months later, we had a conversation like, we're already dating, right? Yeah. So let's make it a relationship.
Wow, what a crazy story. So you had never met at this point. You'd only just video chatted, right? And so
Yes.
you had said that you're in a relationship, and Juan, you told Anna that you loved her before actually meeting each other in person.
Yes.
We did video call very often,
Mhm.
but no meeting in person.
Yes.
And then what happened after that?
when I like finished my service for army, and I was planning to go to Brazil to meet her, but at the time it was like end of no beginning of 2020. So the COVID happened, and I I bought the flight ticket to go to Brazil, but I couldn't go because they blocked the border, so I couldn't enter. So I wait almost a year, and finally I can meet her in person in 2020 December.
And after the I love you, it was like almost 2 years of long distance. Yeah. We, well, I think it was 2 years since the moment we met until we met in person. It was 2 years.
Wow. So I usually don't talk about long distance, but I think it's worth kind of exploring this question for me. I mean, how was it meeting someone on the internet you've never met in real life, you've never kissed, you've never had any kind of intimacy, right? And you fall in love with this person and you have to wait 2 years to actually physically meet them. So how did that feel like for both of you?
It was like a process
Yes.
of the relationship getting serious and more serious. Like we fell in love, then we start talking about what to do, and then I met his family, he met mine with the video call, of course, everything with the video call. And we start planning our lives. So it was a hard time because at some point you really want to be with that person physically. Like at some moment, I'm having a hard time. I want to hug. I want to spend some time. I want to go on a date. That part is really hard. But especially him, he was very busy with the army, so he didn't have much time, extra time, and all his extra time he spent talking to me. So we felt really close. And since we keep planning on what to do after he was done, and we had a date, like he's done on this day, so we were certain we were gonna meet. I think that made it very more easy
Mm.
to go through the long distance because we knew we were gonna see each other.
Yeah, that's more manageable when you have an end goal in sight, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, you, Juan and Anna, let's start with Anna. Have you ever dated someone from Korea before? What was your, I guess, preconceptions of what it would be like dating a Korean guy? Did you go on the internet and Google, what is it like dating a Korean guy? Because these two cultures, they're quite different. I mean, if we look at Brazilians and Koreans, right? So what
Yeah.
was it that you had, how did you see this?
I never imagined myself dating someone from another culture. I didn't have much experience on dating. I had one ex-boyfriend and that was it. I was pretty young when we met. I was 23, 22, 23. And but I never thought about meeting someone from another culture. So when we met and we fell in love, then I start watching YouTube videos about international couples to see how they work and how to imagine how it would be for us. But I didn't have much information at the time because we met 6 years ago. So it wasn't that popular like it is right now. Because I feel like right now there's a lot of Korean other nationality couple, but at that time there wasn't. So I didn't have much information. I had to find out being in a relationship with him.
Yeah, it's now a trendy thing to date a Korean man, isn't it?
Yeah, now it's became trendy for some reason.
Juan, what about you?
For me, I never imagined I would date a Brazilian girl. Because I've never been to Brazil. I never meet anyone from Brazil before. So I never imagined. But after I met, I mean, like uh, for me the way I think the nationality doesn't matter. I think that is a uh person to person. So if you think he's just another person from another country, then it's really not difficult to have a relationship, I guess.
Yeah, we don't have many of those cultural differences. We have more of a personality problems than culture itself. We always said that it's not the culture that matters that much, but how people are to each other. So I think we have as much problems as any couple, any other couple because of
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Interesting. So you didn't have any, let's say, preconceived notions of what a Brazilian woman would be like or what a Korean man would be like before you met each other, just so you could see how that kind of lived up to reality. So maybe you thought, oh, Brazilian women, this is the stereotype that I had or all Koreans have. And then I met Anna and she's not really like that, or, vice versa.
I've heard, I never watched, because in Brazil right now, K dramas are very, very popular. So there is a stereotype for Korean men based on the characters from K drama. But when I met him, I never watched a K drama in my life. My first K drama, I watched it because he told me to. So I didn't know about that stereotype at all. And after we were in a relationship, K drama became popular in Brazil. So I heard about that stereotype and I got asked a lot by our followers if they are really like that. And I always say, no, they're not. That's just a stereotype. They're not really like that.
Yeah. So one thing that I know that is different between both cultures, and maybe you cannot relate to that personally, but is PDA, and that is that I don't know about Korea, but I know in East Asia at least, public displays of affection are not that common, and in Brazil it's super common,
Very common.
right? Have you noticed that in your relationship with one of you being more comfortable with it and the other not being so comfortable with it?
It's actually funny because in Brazil it's very common to show any kind of affection in public, and we don't care. We don't judge. It's normal for us. But I'm a very shy person, so I don't like affection in public. I feel embarrassed. So I'm more if you think about it, I'm more like the Korean way than the Brazilian way. And he's a very outgoing person, so he doesn't mind. He's more Brazilian than I am in that case.
That's super interesting.
I mean, yes, like I went to college in the US and I see a lot of things over there. So my mind is it's not really a Korean mindset. So it's I guess like a little bit closer to Brazilian way. So I think we are like in between. So I think we didn't have any problem with that.
Yeah, we met in the middle.
Mhm.
He's not too affectionate either, and I'm not, so it worked out.
Hey everyone, just a quick note to say that while I love putting these podcasts together each week, they do take a ton of time and effort. So if you're enjoying the show, please make sure to follow on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you're tuning in, and give this podcast a 5-star rating to help it grow. This support really helps me keep improving the show's quality. Thank you, and back to the episode. Ana, are there any other parts of Brazilian mentality, communication, or whatever that you find that you just cannot relate to at all?
Especially where I'm from in Brazil. I'm from a state called Minas Gerais, and this state is very famous for being very friendly. We talk to people in Minas, they talk to everyone in public transportation, in the line, on the bank. Everyone makes friends very easily. And I always had a problem with that because I'm shy. And he talks a lot to everyone. So even if he doesn't, when he came to Brazil at first, he didn't speak Portuguese at all, but he still tried to communicate with people. Google Translate, anything. He won't make questions to anyone. It makes me a little embarrassed because we're walking around and he tells me, oh, ask that person that this thing. And I'm like, I'm not going to. So he goes by himself.
Mhm.
And that's something that I notice he's very Brazilian, more than I am too.
So has it been hard for you? You had mentioned that you've only dated one person before dating one, but have you always felt a little bit like an outcast in Brazil? Or are there a lot of people that are similar to you, like more introverted?
Um, I don't know many people that are like me. My family, my mom is like me. I think I got it from her. But my father is very outgoing, very friendly. My sister is too. Most of my family members, my friends. So I always felt a little like in that part of socializing, I'm not Brazilian enough.
Yeah, it's so interesting listening to you because on the one hand, like culture doesn't matter, in that sense, but it's also interesting that you've kind of in a way gravitated towards even the one you don't consider yourself like very Korean in many ways. You still gravitated to a completely different culture because you just didn't fully relate so well to the Brazilian culture, at least in this way, right? And the outspoken one.
Yeah, if you think about it, whenever I come to Korea, right now we are in Korea, the Koreans in general, they mind their own business. They don't talk to strangers. They don't become friends with people unless they are going to a place they intend to become friends. So when you walk around on the street, nobody notices you, nobody looks at you. And I feel very comfortable actually when I'm in Korea because that doesn't bother me at all. I don't mind people don't want to be my friends. I'm actually comfortable like that.
I think it's because we're in Seoul. Because Seoul, there like it's a big city, so there are too many people. So people don't care other people's lives. So we just live our own. And and if you go to smaller city, people like want to know why this person is here. Because smaller city, they know, everyone knows everyone over there.
Yeah, it's the bigger city mentality for sure.
Mhm.
Juan, I have a question for you, and it's going to be very
Mhm.
similar to one that I asked to Anna, but it's that you had mentioned that you don't feel fully Korean in many ways. And
Mhm.
tell me, in which ways do you feel very Korean, and in which ways do you not feel very Korean?
The time that I can feel that I'm really Korean is when someone is rude to me. And I think that's the only time that I can feel, oh, I'm really Korean.
Which is
Because
why. Mhm.
In Korea, the culture is the speech, the way you talk to someone is very important. They have levels of formality that you need to address someone. And in Brazil, that is not a problem at all. We are not formal. And in Korean is a big mistake if you're not formal to someone you should be. And
That
he's very bothered by that.
that actually is based on the age. If somebody is younger than me, then this person needs to be respectful to me. But if they don't, then I got bad.
So you have met each other's families. You had gotten married. I saw on your socials.
Mhm.
So congratulations. And
Yeah,
you
thank
had
you.
met each other's families. So my question is, considering these language differences, have you felt that with meeting each other's families? Anna, maybe with meeting one's family, did you feel like you have to speak to them more formal, and vice versa for one?
I have a problem with that because I know some Korean. I don't know a lot, but I know some enough to sometimes communicate, but I don't because I'm always afraid of making that mistake. I don't know Korean enough to know when I should use the most formal way or the less formal way. So sometimes when his mother or his father makes me a question, I know how to answer, but I don't because I don't want to make that mistake. I don't want them to feel like I'm being disrespectful towards them because it's important to them. So I just ask him to translate anyway. I don't want to make that mistake. And so for my communication with his family is always through him translating. His brother and his wife, they know a little of English. So I talk to them in English. Sometimes they understand, sometimes they don't. But for his mother and father, he needs to translate.
Mm.
His grandma too.
And one, have you noticed any kind of same question about Anna's family?
I mean, like at first, like when I meet them, at first, I studied the Portuguese a little, but I didn't speak Portuguese well. I even now I don't speak well, but uh,
He does. He
but
knows.
yeah, but if I can make the sentence, then I just say it. But if I most of the time it's difficult to create a sentence, so I just ask her to say instead of me. But I don't think I didn't have a big problem because uh, her family understood very well, and especially with her father, we just communicate with the body language.
They do mimics a lot. My father never worried about not being able to communicate with him. He just speaks in Portuguese and do mimics at the same time, and they can understand it pretty well.
Have your parents mentioned anything about you dating someone from a completely different culture? Were they like, why a Korean, Anna? Couldn't you find a nice Brazilian boy?
My mom was very worried because I met him on the internet. So she was like, "Careful with the dangers of the internet, blah blah blah." So it was a big thing for her. But my father, he's a very open-minded person. I I talked to him and I said, "Oh, I met a guy. We talk in English." And my father was just shocked that I could talk in English, speak English. "Oh, you can speak English. That's great." Because I never took classes. I learned everything by myself just by watching TV shows. So when I told him I was talking to someone in English, he was just, "Oh, okay, cool."
What about you, one?
Me at first, my parents didn't like the fact that I'm dating the foreigner, just because like I was planning to leave the I was planning to leave the Korea again because my parents didn't like that. My parents they're okay to dating foreigners, but they want me to live in Korea, to bring my girlfriend to Korea to live, not for me to go there to live. And that's the only thing my parents didn't like. Other than that, it was all fine. My parents didn't mind that I'm dating foreigners.
So, one, you had decided to move to Brazil to be with Anna, right?
Hmm.
Why didn't you guys decide to move to Korea? Why that decision?
It's because I was on my master's, so I couldn't just drop it. I was taking my master's classes, and he was in army.
Mm.
Once he left army, he didn't have a job here in Korea because before army, he was in US.
Hmm.
So it's not like he had much to lose here in Korea. He
Yes.
didn't have he could find a job, but he didn't have it yet. And I had a job in Brazil. I had my master's, and also used to live in another country because I never left Brazil. My first international trip was to Korea to meet his family. So I never left Brazil. I had something holding me back over there. I had my family, which I'm very attached to, and he was already used to living in another country. And also, I don't speak Korean, which for me is a problem if I want to find a job here. A good job in Korea, you need to be fluent. In Brazil, it's not the case. Even if he didn't speak Portuguese, he could find a job over there,
Mm.
as he did, and he's still working over there. So it felt right for us. It felt easier like that.
Yeah, I mean, like after I dismissed from the army, I decided to came to Brazil because at first I thought that, oh, I can just use this as my vacation, and if it didn't work out, I can just go back. So I was thinking like feel free to come here. I didn't feel any pressure to come to Brazil because the way that I said, if it didn't work out, I can go back.
Mm. So, what culture shocks did you experience since it was your first time at Brazil, I assume?
Yes, I mean it's actually my first time to come to Latin America, but like I noticed a big culture shock as soon as I entered the airport in São Paulo because it's a some international airport in São Paulo. The name is Guarulhos, and it's the biggest airport in Brazil, and it's an international airport. So I thought that people over there speaks English, but no one over there speaks English.
True. True story. I've
So,
experienced the same thing in Rio.
mhm.
Yeah, in the international airports here, they're not international. They're international becomes because there's flights from everywhere, but that's it.
Yeah, so like I was trying to order a food, but they didn't understand at all. So I just pointed the picture and just I just got their food. So and at the moment I felt that, oh, it'll be very difficult to get a job here because even at the international airport, no one speaks English. That means that in people in general, they not gonna speak English.
Mm.
So that's a culture shock that I had because I thought that Brazil uh, speaks Portuguese, but they will speak English too. I think it's too easy.
Mm. What about the people themselves or the way people communicate? Was that different for you?
Yes, yes. Especially where I live is a state called Minas Gerais, and people over there they talk a lot. It's not a small talk. They met stranger, but they talk like 30 minutes or 1 hour in the street. They never stop talking. So that for me, that's a very big culture shock because like in Korea or even in US, I don't think people talk that much. Like we just ask what we want to know, and that's it. We just finish the conversation. But here, getting to get that stage to ask what we want to ask, they need to have a very long small talk, and then at the end they ask that question, and they need time to finish that conversation too.
Are Koreans more direct? I actually don't know. I know Japanese are incredibly indirect, but I don't know so much about Koreans because I know Brazilians are renowned for their, at least because I study this so much and I talk a lot to Brazilians. Brazilians always complain to me and they say, we cannot get to the point. We're so non confrontational. We will, if someone comes over, but we're not ready to greet them, we'll make time for them regardless, even if we have to be at the appointment. Like everything is made to make the other person feel welcome, right? So there's like a little bit of conflict avoidance as well, right, Anna?
Yes, I mean, especially where because Brazil is a very big country, so there is many different behaviors, but especially where I live, it's even common to invite someone in your house
To
to
drink
have
coffee.
coffee. Like you met someone on the street and you say, "Oh, come over. Let's have some coffee. Let's eat some pão de queijo together." And it's very common. We are very non-confrontational, and in general, the whole country, we receive well foreigners.
Mm.
We don't have a problem with that. We are very friendly in general too. Not only in my state, but even in São Paulo, which is the our biggest city right now. They're friendly too.
Mm.
And Koreans are way more direct with what they want. They just say,
Yes.
"I want this. That's it. Over."
Yes, yes, yes. I think I don't know why because like for Koreans, we just if we want to know something, we just ask the question directly. We don't we need to talk anything else. We just ask and we get the answer. Then oh, thank you. That's it. But I think here in Brazil, people are more cautious than Koreans. They are more careful of how other people think.
Mm.
So they care a lot. But that doesn't mean that Koreans don't care other people, but the level of the careness of is much higher. The Brazilians are much higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's that Brazilians are really all about, they're so collectivist, they're so about relationships. And I feel like in Korea, maybe people are a little bit more efficient with their time. Maybe that could be one of the reasons that they're like, okay, I don't have all the time in the world to have an hour conversation just to ask you a question. Because this is really cultural, right? This directness or
Yeah.
indirectness.
The Koreans, I feel like they're always in a rush. Always. Everything needs to be done very. It was a problem. Actually, that was one of we had small cultural problems, not big, as I said, but it was one of the problems we had because he wants everything done at that moment. Like, even when he first came, he ordered something online, and in Brazil it takes 1 week to be at your home, and in Korea it takes 1 day. So he was like at the door, "Where is my order?" And I was like, You know, you have to wait a little longer, right?" Or the lines at the bank or something, they're very long. They take a long time. Everything is made very slowly. I mean, Korea is the size of one Brazilian state. So there's also that. Everything is huge in Brazil, but everything is done so fast in Korea that he was not used to at all. He kept complaining, everything's so slow, so slow. Traffic is slow, lines are slow, delivery is slow, everything.
Yeah, that's why people have the time to stand and chat to each other. Because they're like,
Yes,
I'm
we
waiting for
have
this
time to
thing.
wait.
It's like, just whatever, we have to let it go because it's not going to happen in the next 5 minutes. So we're just going to relax
Yes.
and go with it. Whereas I feel like once you're used to the really fast paced way of doing things, it's really hard to stand in line and wait for a very long time. And Korea is the future. If you really think about Korea, South Korea is just even living in Canada, I mean, you feel like things are done really fast here. But I know people that have gone to Korea. I personally haven't been myself, and they say it's like another level. It's literally another level. So, Anna, question for you: what have been your culture shocks in Korea? I guess is that one thing is that people are in a rush, people don't have the time to chat, and everything is done really fast. Has there been anything
Yes.
else?
Oh, the food is a big shock for me. It's different from everything I've seen before. So I have a hard time eating when I'm in Korea because, for once, I cannot handle spiciness. And most of the things here are spicy, even when they say that it's not. Even when you order no spicy at the restaurant, they think no spicy means no red pepper, the ones they use specifically for here, but they put other type of pepper,
Black
the
pepper.
black pepper, and that's spicy for me. So I have a hard time eating here, and I don't eat pork meat, which is a very popular here. That's one big shock. The weather is a shock too because it doesn't snow in Brazil, but it snows here a lot. But that was a happy cultural shock because I always wanted to see snow. It was a childhood dream. And I've been to Korea in winter 2 times now, and I saw snow a bunch of times. So that was a happy shock. But my body was not prepared to deal with this cold weather like it is. So I had to I wear a bunch of coats one on top of the other to deal with it.
Yeah, I always find it so funny how much Brazilians love the snow. Like my sister Anna, the one that contacted you, she just moved to Sweden to be with her boyfriend. And I keep asking her, Anna, like, how are you liking this? And she says, I love this. I love it. It's -10. I'm enjoying it so much. Me being Russian, living in Canada, I cannot say the same. I really, really hate the winter. So, but I think it's that exotic thing is that you've never seen the
Yeah.
snow, right?
Mhm.
Is a something very new. We can only imagine. We see it in the movies, but we cannot have. There's a small. In south of Brazil, it gets cold and sometimes it snows, but it's a very small snow. It's not like here. It doesn't make everything white and beautiful.
So, you guys had mentioned to me earlier that the one cultural difference you definitely have is the way you eat during the day. And I mean, I personally have to say before I ask the question, I really love Korean food and I like Brazilian food as well. But I really love Korean food. I really go out for a lot of Korean. But I agree with Anna, it's very, very spicy. And I've also had the situation where I've asked if there's spice in it, and they say, no, no, it's okay. It's fine. It's medium. And it's super spicy. And you're
Yes.
crying the entire time you're eating that thing. So, how has that been different for you guys? I mean, especially for one, living in Brazil, do you miss Korean food? Has it been difficult for you?
Yes, I mean, like, especially the city where I live, uh, now there's one Korean restaurant, but it just opened it, so I didn't have it for like 4 years. So whenever I miss Korean food, I wanted to have, but there's no way to have it unless I bought the ingredient on online and cook it. So, uh, yes, I missed it a lot over there.
We mainly eat Brazilian food on the daily life because it's faster and easier because we don't cook, we don't have time to cook. So we just order it every day. And the options for ordering is Brazilian. It's never Korean. So we don't have a Korean restaurant where we live. So he's always complaining about how much he misses the food.
So, one, let me ask you, what is your favorite Brazilian food and what is your least favorite Brazilian food?
I mean, there are quite a lot of food that I like. I like salpicón. I like feijoada, pão de queijo. Uh, like churrasco. I like meat in general. So, and there are quite a lot of food that I like, but uh, I like to put some pepper in it.
He always adds something to make it more Koreanized thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what about the food you don't like?
Ah, the food that I don't like, there is a like whenever you eat churrasco. Churrasco is a barbecue, and Brazilians like to eat the chicken heart, but I don't like it. I don't like the taste of the blood.
Mm, yeah.
But he doesn't he got lucky. He's very easy to adapt to food. So he eats everything, almost everything. You give it to him, he will eat it. He'll think it's good. It's not a problem for him.
Yes, I mean, like I need to try first so that I can know I like it or not. So whenever someone offered me a new food, then I prefer to try first.
Mm. One, what has been the hardest thing for you living in Brazil? How long have you been in Brazil at this point, by the way?
I lived there for 4 years by now.
Okay. And what has been the hardest thing for you?
Actually, I don't think there are not much hardest thing to live over there, but the hardest thing is people over there don't speak English well.
That seems to be your
That's the
biggest
most
pain
hardest
point.
thing. Other than that, yeah, other than that, it's just the same. Yes.
Is it the same? Korea and Brazil.
And he's just very easy to adapt. I think I got lucky. I found someone that it doesn't care where he lives, where he's doing it. He's very easygoing.
Yeah, it seems like that for sure. Now, guys, you have some language barriers, right? That you maybe struggle with a little bit. I mean, how do you navigate like any language barriers in your relationship, especially because you're from such different linguistic backgrounds? Have you had any kind of funny or challenging moments in this?
Yes, since we're both fluent in English, we didn't have much trouble understanding each other. We had some trouble with the way we speak. Because he mentioned it, Korean is a very formal way of talking, and the Portuguese Brazilian is not at all. So sometimes, since my brain is already programmed to speak in the Brazilian way, when I speak in a very open way, like not formal at all. And we had a little trouble at the beginning with that because I just translate some Brazilian expression to him, like, just do it. And he didn't think it was polite. He thought I was being aggressive towards him, and I wasn't. So that's the problem we had with the communication. Like, just the way we speak, the way we talk, makes it the other person to understand it a different way because of our backgrounds.
Mm. And I don't know which one of you is older. Is it one or is it you? Anna?
He's older.
Yeah.
He's 4 years older.
Okay, and then so I've heard one of the Instagrammers, maybe you've seen her, she's a Belarusian girl married to a Korean guy. She was talking about how her husband is much older than her, so maybe that's the difference. But she was asked, she couldn't even call him by his name. She had to refer to him specifically because he was older. I don't know, is that the case in your relationship at all?
No, I mean he makes a joke sometimes, but he doesn't really care about the that much formality. It's more like the way of speaking that sounds rude to him than the formality itself. Like, I'm younger, so I should, if I speak to him in Korean, I should be formal, but I don't. Sometimes I talk to him in Korean in a very informal way, and he just said, "You should put the yo at the end." And I said, "I'm not gonna do it. You're my husband," and he doesn't care.
Yes, I just say it as a joke.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Interesting. I haven't asked you guys, but is there any difference in the way relationships start in both of your countries? Because I know Brazil has like 4 levels of commitment, like ficante, there's contatinho, if that's what you're doing first, and so on
Yeah.
and so forth. And in Korea, what I hear is that people get into relationships pretty fast, right? So tell me a little bit about that
Yes.
difference, even if you don't fit into that.
In Brazilian culture, is like very common to hook up with people with no commitment at all. You just met someone at a bar, in a party, you just kiss, and that's it. You don't even need to know the person's name sometimes. It's not for me, but it's for my friends and in general. So there is levels of commitment. There is like someone you're just talking to casually, someone that you're starting to be serious, someone that is actually serious, someone you're gonna get married. But we got a little like confused in the middle. Like, there is no someone, this person. I'm dating this person just to be casual, or I'm dating this person to get married to. It's just like the relationship progress. Like,
Mhm.
it can become something serious, and it doesn't matter where you met that person, the background. You just, if you like that person, it can become a little more serious.
Mhm.
But in the Korean culture, it's like you're dating this person just to have fun, or you're dating this person to get married.
Yes, yes,
It's
yes.
not like this person can become your wife. It's more like, I'm now going to search for someone to be my wife. Or I'm now going to search for someone to be my girlfriend just to have fun.
No, that just depends on the person. That's not for everyone. Yes, like, but for in general, Koreans, we get into the relationship much faster than Brazilian. Like we get into the relationship. Like it's possible to get into the relationship within a first week or like after they met in like 1 2 weeks later. It's possible because like with things that we get into the relationship and get to know each other
Mhm.
The part of getting to know each other is part of
of
the
yeah,
relationship.
it's a part of the relationship as well.
While in Brazil, getting to know is before getting into the serious relationship. You know the person, you know if you like her or not, and then you get in the serious part.
Yeah, so that's why this very common that like after they got into the relationship and they broke up in first months later or 2 months later. It's very common.
Mm. So, okay, very interesting. And then, Anna, how did you feel about the whole Brazilian way of doing things? Because you'd mentioned that going around and kissing people in bars, that wasn't really your thing. So, how was
It
like
was.
dating in Brazil where you're struggling a little bit with this?
Uh, I struggled. I mean, for Brazilians, it's very common to have your first kiss around 12, 13. But I had my first kiss when I was 16 because I was too shy to be you too. I was too shy to deal with the boys. I mean, I was in love with my classmate, but I couldn't tell him, so it was a big thing. But and I dated once I had my first kiss. I dated that person for 4 years, so I didn't have the chance. I was from 16 to 20. I was in a relationship, and then when I got single, I said, okay. Then I got single, stay single for a little while, but I said, let's find someone. So I downloaded Tinder, and it worked terribly for me because the guys wanted to talk and meet right away, and I didn't. I wanted to know the person and like that person before meeting them. So the Brazilian way of dating, it doesn't quite work for me because for me, I need to, in order for me to kiss the person and be with that person, I need to have feelings already.
Mm,
I cannot just kiss someone that I don't have feelings for, and that's very different from what Brazilians in general do. So, but I didn't find it hard to date at that time. I just said, okay, then eventually I will find someone that works out, that it thinks the same way as me. And I ended up finding him. So I had 2 years to fall in love with him. It was more than enough.
yeah, a lot of Brazilian women do. I mean, complain about dating in Brazil, saying that it does take a long time, and then you're not really sure about whether you're his girlfriend or you're just seeing each other or if you're just having sex, what's going on. Especially, of course, when it comes to Rio, that's the ultimate place for hookups. But
Yeah.
that's been like one of the common stories that I've heard, and of course, it does differ because there are some very serious Brazilian guys, but there is a little bit of that culture that encourages going out and kind of hooking up with different people, not having sex, but just kissing, a lot of
Hmm.
people, especially when you're younger. So I can imagine that as someone that didn't quite fit into that, you're looking for something more serious and
Yes.
to actually like get to know one person instead of just going around and doing all these things with different people.
Yes, it was like the months that I used Tinder, there was a bunch of guys talking at the same time, wanting to meet us. That didn't work for me at all. It's not my thing. So I ended up giving up. I said, okay, it will happen naturally.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll meet someone in college. Maybe I'll meet someone that is a friend's friend, and it will work out. So I'm not gonna use that. I'm not gonna use dating websites. And then I found someone online.
That's funny. You had mentioned that one is not your typical Korean guy. However, have you experienced any difference when it comes to, dating Brazilian guys and meeting one? Was there any difference that you thought, oh, this is different? Maybe because of his personality, but could also be because of the way it was usually in the past with Brazilian guys.
The dating, I feel like for one, he's I think it's a cultural thing. I'm not sure, but I think they're more protective.
Mm,
They have a more protective style of dating. That kind of bothered me a little at the beginning. He wanted to do everything for me. Like, I do this, let me do this, let me do this. I feel not capable of enough. Some women like it. Some women like to be cared for that much. But for me, it didn't work because I felt useless. So he keeps saying, I'll do it, let me do it. And that was a little thing that we had to work out.
Yeah, because in Korea, what I hear, I don't know if that's something you guys practice, is that you celebrate like all your anniversaries and like 100-day anniversary, 200-day, and the matching outfits thing. Is that still a thing?
It is. They still celebrate like they have a pepero day and whatever day. They have a bunch of days. We don't do it. We just go with the Valentine's Day, the Brazilian Valentine's Day, and that's it. We celebrate our anniversary or wedding anniversary and Valentine's Day. That's it. We don't do any other, but we do matching outfits sometimes. It's a cheesy, cute thing to do. So I'm open to that.
Interesting. So I'll ask you two more questions. One of them is, what have been some of the most surprising things that you've learned about each other's cultures since being together? Has there been anything that we haven't talked about yet?
Yes. The first thing that I noticed after I came to Brazil, I noticed that the Brazilians, they uh, take care of their families very well,
Mm.
and they very attached with their families, because I thought that all I thought is an Asian thing, because only Asian take care of their families. We are attached with our families. But after I came to Brazil, I noticed that Brazilians, they attach with their family sometimes like little more than Koreans.
Mm.
Yeah, for us specifically, it was a thing he had to understand that I'm very attached to my family, and it's very common that we visit our family often.
Hmm.
Like we live together, we live close to my mother's house, so I like to go there at least once a week on the weekend. And at first, it was something that he had to work through because he keeps saying, "But you just saw her last week. Why you need to see her again?" And I'm like, That's the way it works for us." And that's something very common in Brazil, especially for women,
Hmm.
more than men. Women's, they, I think they're more attached to their mother or father, so they visit more. It's usually like a married couple. They visit the woman's family more than the man's family, more every weekend. And I got used to when I was growing up. My mom always visit her mom. So and he was always like, "But you just saw her." Sometimes I went in the middle of the week and he said, "But you're gonna see her on Sunday." So it was something that we had to work through too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very interesting point because I don't know about Korea. I know Latinos in general, like Brazil, but also, you have Mexico, Colombia, like mostly are close to their family, right? That's such a big part of the culture, like to spend your Sunday
Mhm.
with your family. Um, in Korea, are people that close to their families typically?
Yes, I think we do. We do.
Hmm.
We are close with our families, but we don't, unless we live together, we don't see them like every week.
There's like he calls his mom every day.
Hmm.
He video calls with his mom every day.
Oh,
So that's closeness. They are very close. They talk, they share everything. They share the problems, whatever is happening. They talk a lot, especially with his mom, but his father, his brother too.
Hmm.
So they are close, but they just don't visit as much as we do
yeah.
because we are close and we like to be close physically too.
Yeah, Brazilians are, I think, some of the most tactile people in the world, if I may say
Yeah.
so. Just incredibly affectionate. I think that's one thing. While it may differ person to person, Anna, you'd mentioned that you're not so much, but on the spectrum, it's there.
Mm.
It's there pretty high up, I would say.
Yeah.
So, one last question that I want to ask you guys. I mean, you've had quite a crazy story with a long distance relationship, with dating someone from another country, for one to move countries, basically moving across the world for you, Anna, which is very romantic, by the way. I don't know who does it these days. But what advice would you give to others that are dating someone from another culture or that are having a long distance relationship? What advice would you give these guys?
I would tell them to set their goals together and have patience to reach to those goals. It is a hard time to be apart, so they need to talk. They need to have a conversation. They need to understand each other and share all the worries that they have. I think that's a very important thing. In our 2 years of long distance, we shared everything. We shared everything we were worried about. So don't hide if you're sad, if you miss them, or if you're worried about something in the relationship, if you think it's not going to work out. You need to tell that person because you're not close physically. So you don't have that makes the relationship better. You don't have the part that makes the relationship a relationship. So you need to have some other tools. And talking to that person is that tool. And making plans and setting your goals is something that is important too.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think it's important to share what they think, and it's not good to hide something from each other. Like, it's better to talk. And I think the most important thing is, if I try to understand something that based on the culture, I think it's very difficult to understand because it's something that I don't have it in my culture. So I think it's just better to accept it way it is. Then I think it'll be better.
If you're in a relationship with someone from a different culture, you need to be prepared to embrace that culture too. I think a lot of people have troubles with it because they don't want to let go of their culture, which is not something you have to do. You can do both. You can keep your culture and accept someone else's too. You need to be more understanding of that. And because we've seen a lot of problems with the couples, they don't want to participate in others' culture. But for us, if it's important to him, it's important to me. And it's the opposite too. If it's important to me, then it's important to him. So we need to, if we chose to be in a relationship with someone that isn't from a different culture. So if we chose that, then we have to participate in that person's culture too.
Yeah, beautifully said. Guys, thank you so much for taking part in the podcast, for being the first ever cross-cultural couple on my podcast. We did it. It worked.
We did it. We're important now.
So, guys, thanks again. And I'm going to link all your socials so people can go check you out, say hi. And also, if anyone has any questions for you, maybe they're in a cross-cultural couple or just doing long distance, drop them below. And maybe anaandwan will take a look and answer you guys. So, guys, thanks again.
Thank you. It was
Thank you.
fun. Nice meeting you
Nice meeting
guys.
you.
Nice meeting you
Bye.
too.